Well, if we're gonna find any ghosts, we better split up.
You're listening to Never Split Up, a horror movie podcast.
There are certain rules that one must abide by in order to successfully survive a horror movie.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Never Split Up podcast. My name is Nolan. Alongside, as always, is Anthony, and today we have a very special episode. We are covering Creature from the Black Lagoon, released in 1954, and we have a very special guest. Joining us is Rachel from the Black Lagoon. That's her handles on social media. How you doing, Rachel? What's going on?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
Doing good, doing good. Thanks so much for joining us. You know, this year I wanted to have an emphasis on having some special guests on the podcast a little more often, and I follow you on TikTok. We have a TikTok, Never Split Up Pod TikTok, and you post great content, and I was like, oh man, I gotta have her on because me and Aunt, we're horror movie aficionados, but me particular, I'm not like a huge Universal monster guy. I understand its importance and stuff, and especially Creature of the Black Lagoon, I've only seen maybe a couple times in my life, so I was like, you know what, let me invite her on. She seems to be like kind of the resident expert, at least on the side of TikTok I'm on, so thanks so much for joining us. I'm really excited to get into this movie. What's going on, Aunt? How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm excited. I always love my monster movies, so I'm excited to get into this.
Yeah, for sure excited. So before we cover the actual movie, Rachel, why don't you kick us off, and if you want to shout out your channels, and then also tell us a little bit about how you got into the genre and into collecting creature memorabilia. That's kind of what you're known for, and all that.
Awesome. Thank you so much again for having me, by the way. I'm excited to be here. So a little background about me. I've been collecting all things Creature from the Black Lagoon for about 10 years now. You can find me on TikTok. That's where I got my start. I just started sharing my collection just for the fun of it, and it turns out there are a lot of other Creature and Universal Monster fans out there, and it was really fun to connect with everybody. And so I decided to also extend this over to YouTube. I'm also Rachel from the Black Lagoon over there as well. And I'm also on Instagram. I do try to post more behind the scenes things on Instagram, but I do post my shorts there as well. And yeah, so you can find me on all three. All three are Rachel from the Black Lagoon.
Awesome. That's great. And I know we're going to be covering all things Black Lagoon, but just to give our audience better, well-rounded, history of you, do you like any other horror movies, any other franchises? Like what's your go-to in terms of just horror in general?
So I obviously love the monster movies. I love all Universal monster movies, but I also love Halloween, specifically Halloween 1978. It is one of my favorite films of all time. It rivals The Creature sometimes, I'm not going to lie. Like, those two sit at the very top of my all-time favorite movies. And I do like Halloween 2 as well, the first Halloween 2.
And you're speaking Ant's language. Both of our language, yeah.
And I have a small Halloween 1978 collection, but it's nothing compared to The Creature.
That's awesome. That's you've come to the right place, right, Ant?
Oh, for sure. Halloween's our baby, so.
Yeah.
Awesome.
We did, I think, like, what was it at? Like a 3-hour episode on the original Halloween. We just dissected like every scene. It was incredible. It's our favorite movie, my favorite horror movie, Ant's favorite movie of all time. So, yeah. Okay, great. Yeah, no, it's great. Those are two great all-timers to have as your top two. I mean, like I said, I wasn't really too familiar with this movie. I want to say the last time I saw this movie was when I was a kid, like maybe high school. I really haven't gone back to it as an adult, which I should have, because this movie still holds up. I mean, we'll get into it, but that's great to have those two movies as I could definitely see why you would have those two. But okay. And before we get into the review, you said you had some housekeeping. You want to shout out some of the episodes that have been coming out and stuff?
Yeah, for sure, guys. So we're recording this in advance, so we're in the future right now. But our whole entire Final Destination, episode log should be out. So that includes the new movie Bloodlines and our franchise ranking. And if we're lucky enough, we also would have released our favorite chase scenes episode the week before this episode. So make sure you guys check out our whole Final Destination coverage. We had a blast doing that. We always love releasing ranking episodes, so let us know your favorite chase scenes, and we have a bunch planned. The rest of our June and July are pretty much stacked with the new releases coming out and going back to installments for previous franchise installments for 28 years later. We got Megan. I know what you did last summer, so we have a stacked lineup coming up. So make sure you guys subscribe and check out all of our content.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. We definitely been killing it with the content this year, and that's because all these new releases. I mean, damn, we're trying to keep up with all of them, but it's tough because we like to do the classics too, and I'm glad we were able to fit this episode in. So this is going to be released sometime in June, so look out for that. So okay, let's get into Creature from the Black Lagoon. It's been 71 years, 1954. Can you believe it? And why don't you cover cast, crew, and all that synopsis?
Okay, for sure. So I'll give you guys the IMDb synopsis. A strange prehistoric beast lurks in the depths of the Amazonian jungle. A group of scientists try to capture the animal and bring it back to civilization for study. Like Nolan said, it came out in 1954. It was directed by Jack Arnold, and it stars Richard Carlson, Julie Adams, Richard Denning, Antonio Moreno, Nestor Pavia, Whit Bissell. It's a when I watched, I'm very satisfied with how each character was very distinct and the actors brought it. So yeah, this is a classic Universal monster movie, and when I see that Universal logo in the beginning, it made me smile, and I just can't wait to talk about this movie.
Yeah, for sure. It's very nice when you see that logo popping. You're just in for a treat. Yeah, this I will dare to say this might be the most atmospheric of the Universal monster movies. I mean, you just sink right into the Amazon rainforest. You have, all the jungle sounds in the background and stuff. We'll get into that, but you can just turn the lights off and just escape into this world.
So good.
It's so good. Okay, so before we get into, I guess, the spoiler part where we just dissect the movie, we'll do our overall thoughts, Rachel, and we'll kind of normally we do like whether or not we recommend the movie, but obviously, spoiler alert, you recommend it, and
a little bit.
So yeah. So why don't you give us like overall spoiler-free thoughts? Maybe like the first time you saw this movie, like what'd you think?
Well, the first time I ever saw this movie, I was a little kid, so it it's hard to say what my exact thoughts were. I did fall in love with just monster films as a kid. I also had a fear of them, but I couldn't help but want to watch them, I rewatched this though when I was in high school, and it just, like you said, the atmosphere of the film and just the monster makeup of the creature is what really struck me and really stayed with me. And it was more than just a monster movie. The storyline holds up today. It's always been good. The dialogue is good. It's not just a monster movie for the sake of being a monster movie. And so I think that's why it stood out to me among the other Universal monster films, although I do love all of them for their own individual reasons. But really, Creature has everything. It's got a great cast, a great storyline. The Gill Man is incredible looking, and I think they do a really good job in this original Creature from the Black Lagoon film of putting little things in there that really keep the story moving, and also keep what am I trying to say? Keep like trying to not give spoilers right now, so I'm trying to.
No, it's okay.
Yeah.
but yeah, basically that's.
No, don't worry. We'll have plenty of time to get into the movie, and we'll dissect each act and everything. Yeah, what about you? What overall thoughts?
Oh, this movie is fucking beautiful looking. So I told Nolan that before I actually bought the 4K Blu-ray, and goddamn, it looks amazing on 4K. My first time I remember watching this is I already told the story. I grew up. My grandpa showed me Jaws and Salem's Lot. My parents did the whole Halloween and Scream thing, but I saw this after I went and saw it after all the monster movies. After as a kid, I was shown one of my favorite movies of all time, The Monster Squad, which obviously has all of these creatures in it. So I was like, I gotta go to the classics, gotta see it. And this one always stuck out to me, especially as being such a huge fan of aquatic horror. Just alone what they are able to capture underwater, especially when you're going back to the 50s, the way this was filmed and shot, you can see how influential this movie was. Down to, you can say that Steven Spielberg took a lot of inspiration for Jaws from this movie, right down to the score, and the shots of him lurking beneath, but you don't really see him a lot until there's so much inspiration taken from this movie, and I just love how this I forgot how many iconic shots and sequences this has too. I mean, we'll get into it, but the shot of him swimming under K, it's just next level, and just what they were able to accomplish with the resources they had is just next level. And like you said, we talked about there's so many characters. Everyone feels like a full fleshed out character, but also I appreciate this one and maybe this time of the monster movies because it's not trying to be any deeper than what it is. It has substance, but it also knows it's just a thrilling creature feature. And if you want to like look into it, there is messaging there, but it's very simplistic. The themes aren't at the forefront, but if you want to dissect it after the fact, you can. Themes of sexualization, greed, power. But where you have the creature features of today, like Lee Wanell, all of these thematic and emotional elements are at the forefront of the plot and narrative, which I also love. But there's something about just a movie that knows what it is that's always going to get me. And I'm really curious to hear Rachel's thoughts, maybe towards the end of this episode, of how she feels about James Wan doing a new take on this, because Lee Wanell was more of a thematic, emotional approach to these movies, but I feel like James Wan is like popcorn horror fun, and I do think that might be the way to go with this one. Like Nolan said, it's just a horror adventure. So I really love this one, and it holds up so well. Everything about it is just beautiful. I was honestly just in awe of how great it looked, and how I'm not going to say that I watch this one all the time, but it kept me engaged. And for a movie to be that engaging and thrilling and suspenseful for when it came out, and I can only imagine like people going to see this back in the day, like holy shit, my mind was blown. So it kept me on the edge of my seat, and I've seen it a few times, so I was really thrilled, especially those underwater sequences and how long they go on for is really impressive. So this one might be towards the top tier of these monster movies, just for what it still makes me feel and experience to this day. So obviously, huge recommend. You got to watch all the classics, and just as for all younger viewers, don't be put off by black and white or older movies. Watch this; it's thrilling and it keeps your attention. So that's what I hope from us covering. Maybe brings younger audiences back to the old movies and just keeps them captivated.
Yeah, for sure. Like you said, it's beautiful. It's black and white, but the restoration work to make it HD and 4K. You have the 4K. So I had to rent it on Amazon. Unfortunately, I don't have it. I don't own it. But even on Amazon, they have like the UHD version for like $4. I rented it. It looks beautiful. I mean, whoever did the restoration job just did. And maybe you have some insight into that, Rachel. But it looks incredible. And yeah, I mean, just piggybacking off of you guys, I love this movie too. Jack Arnold. I mean, he did a fantastic job directing this movie. It still holds up because of his direction. And I did watch a couple features before we recorded the week leading up to this recording of, behind the scenes and stuff and of the cast and crew. And they talk about how Jack did not want it to be cheesy and corny. He wanted it to be, like a straightforward story. And he told the stuntmen who were performing, the creature Gillman. By the way, Rachel, that was one of the questions I wanted to ask you. So you call it the Gillman, or because I know it's either the creature, people call it the creature, or people call it the Gillman. What do you refer to as mainly?
I definitely go between the two. I call him the creature and I call him the Gillman. It's kind of intertwined. It's the same.
It is, yeah. Okay, yeah. Because I feel like I say the same both as well. So I was just curious. But yeah, no, it's it was definitely his baby, and you can tell that he really took care of this film, and he didn't want it to be like this kind of cheese fest where, it was unbelievable because, you're watching it. It's 71 years later. I'm watching it in my home theater, and I'm believing that this creature could exist in the Amazon. I mean, it's incredible. And like you said, Rachel, testament to the prosthetic work and the suit. The suit is just legendary. I mean, dare I say, Gillman is just one of the icons, despite the movie not being as iconic as, let's say, Dracula or some of the others. The creature has stood the test of time so much. I mean, it's in other media. You see it in other media all the time. And look how much is behind Rachel, all the collectibles that are still coming out. So, yeah, it's really cool to see movies this old. And this was, one of the newer, actually, Universal monster movies. We can get into the history, but came out in 1954. This was kind of, at the tail end of that. And I know there was a couple sequels, which I don't think I've seen. But so maybe we'll have to cover those in the future. But this came out, I feel like, at the right time. Like I said, Jack Arnold is amazing. The cinematography blew me away watching this past rewatch. Every shot is so intentional and so beautiful. Those opening shots on the beach and stuff to start the movie, and then you talked about obviously the iconic scene of the swimming scene with Kay. But yeah, this movie has it all. It's got really great action sequences underwater, might I add. I mean, some of these sequences are just unbelievable to watch. And yeah, this is going to be a fun episode. I think we all recommend it. It sounds like, but yeah, let's dive in. So, Ant, you want to kind of kick us off? What do you want to talk about first, or do you want to just go like act by act, or how do you want to do this?
Yeah, I mean, I'm down to jump on over, but what do you guys think of the intro, like, the introduction to the creature in the beginning and how everything, kind of was set into motion? I thought, again, suspense is key and build up is key, and I think this one doesn't make us wait too long, but it also, gives us little hints. It doesn't play its full hand too early. So I thought, again, the setup is very crucial in horror movies and especially creature movies because you don't want to, again, show all the goods too early. But I think the way this built up, very like it made it set stage for when they're on the water, on the boat, and I'm like, hell yeah, I'm ready to go.
Yeah, for sure. This did not waste any time, showing the hand coming out of the water. I think that was really
So good.
really good to do, because by the time you get our main cast on the boat, going into the lagoon, it's that tension is already there because you saw what the creature did already. So, and by the way, Rachel, feel free to jump in if you have any facts.
Yeah, you're the expert.
Yeah, like anything you want to touch on with these scenes, like behind the scenes stuff. I mean, I know you're probably a much bigger well of knowledge than we are. So, we're going to talk about this movie on the surface level, but if you have any like extra info you want to throw in, please, by all means.
Please do.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was going to jump off of what you guys were saying. I do think that the opening scene, it's one of those less is more. And it gives you just enough, kind of like Jaws, where you don't see Bruce until way into the film. I think that's kind of the genius of it, is it's just enough to make you intrigued, but also kind of scared. And yeah,
it rode that line really well because it was kind of a less is more approach, but it did show you enough to where your senses are heightened almost immediately. And we didn't even touch on the score of this film. I mean, this score is at the forefront. I mean, for sure, it's what helps make this movie atmospheric the way it is. And we could talk about the theme, the Gilman theme, which is played to death in this movie. I mean, every time he's on screen, it's you get that theme, but it's great. Yeah, it's so charming.
I feel like Spielberg sat down and took notes on this movie before he made Jaws. After rewatching it, I'm like, damn.
I even got some like Jurassic Park from this movie too. I mean, I feel like Spielberg is definitely a huge fan of this film. Yeah,
the influences are endless. I like how you brought up about Jack Arnold, the director. I was reading trivia and the commitment he had for this movie. One of the professional divers and swimmers who played the creature, he had to hold his breath for like up to 4 minutes at a time just to play the role, just because the director had the logic of the air would have to travel through the monster's gills, and air bubbles from mouth or nose, he didn't want them to be seen at all. So that's how much this dude is like, we're not messing around. We're making an iconic creature feature, and I appreciate stuff like that.
And off of that, so when they were looking for casting of the creature, so they first cast our land Gilman, which was Ben Chapman, and then they cast Rico Browning as our underwater Gilman. And they traveled to Florida because they wanted to shoot underwater. And so there was a place in Florida, which they wanted to use, and they wanted to use for filming. And someone had worked, Rico Browning was working there at the time. And they asked him to just swim in front of their camera so that way they could get an idea of what a human form would look like on their cameras under the water there before they decided that they were going to shoot there. And then lo and behold, Jack Arnold wanted Rico after he saw the test shoot. And they asked him because he was a professional diver and swimmer. So he had that ability to hold his breath like that. And yeah, he became our underwater Gilman.
That's great. Talk about seizing the moment, right? I mean, that's amazing. That's so cool. Yeah, like you said, Ann, I mean, I want to talk, before we get too much into this movie, I want to talk about the creature's design and, the practical effects and the whole suit in general. Rachel, what do you love about this design and the suit, and what can you tell us about kind of why it's so iconic and, all that stuff.
Well, I think it's incredible because it's a full head to toe suit. So it's not just like beneath the clothes where some monsters, it might just be like their hands and then they're from the neck up or whatever. And the creature's a full suit. And they built the suit to fit perfectly the actor. So both Ben and Rico had a suit custom made to fit them, and the mask was to their face mold. So this was like right against their skin, and so it made it look very lifelike and made you kind of believe there really was, or made you feel like there could be really a gill man swimming in the water, and it left no room for it just looks so realistic. And especially with the first creature, they had 3 different masks, I believe it was, in total, that had different size in the eyes. So any like close up scenes, there's only like it's like a pin, like they can barely see through the mask, and so even close up, it looks realistic because it's not a cheap looking mask. There's not you're not seeing the human eye behind the mask. And something that I thought was really incredible is when the above water scenes, like on the boat, when he's walking on the boat and you see the gills kind of flap open.
Oh, so
there
good.
was a practical effect used, yeah, and there was a guy like behind that was like air put in, so it would go, I believe it was up the spine, and it would come out and it would make the gills move.
That's the one detail. The gills moving when he breathes above water is one of the details I love about this design. It's the way he like is like a mouth breather and he's like sucking in air and then the gills expand. It's kind of creepy and it's really well done. You can tell. I mean, when you put love and care and attention to detail into something like this, I mean, it still looks good to this day. I mean, you really can't tell that it's a suit at all. And the fact that, like you said, they made 2 separate suits because I'm assuming the 2 actors have different body types just to fit both actors is really awesome. Really, really cool.
It just looks so real and good. And take note, this 2025, and we have movies that are not looking as good as this because they want to save a buck with CGI. Just go back to basics and keep it simple. It's creepy. It feels more realistic. And I don't know about you guys, but once I rewatched this, I'm like, I want this tattooed on me. I want the creature tattooed on me. That's how I was like obsessed. I was like, I want it now. I want it now. But yeah, we need to go back to basics because this movie in 1954, with the little resources they had, they show you that in 2025 we're talking about saying how good it looks and how real and creepy it looks. And this is a very like in a moral dilemma with this character because it's a villain, but by the time the end, you're kind of like your heart's almost, my heart at least is pounding because I'm like, I want him to make it back to the lagoon, and live. So it's very tragic, but yeah, it looks fucking awesome, and I really do think I might have a tattoo appointment coming up at some point, maybe in the future for this.
That's a tattoo. I want the full suit like in my room. I want to cosplay as the creature. I mean, it's so cool, so cool. Yeah, and then like you said, piggybacking off what you just said, how he's kind of this sympathetic type. I think it helps that you have these scientists on board. You don't just have like these hunters. It's not like these hunters are hunting him.
You have a mix.
So they're not. He's not. It's a good mix. You have the one guy who's trying to bring him down. And then I always get the 2 confused. It's Mark.
Me too.
It's Mark that's trying to take him down, and then David's the scientist. Correct, Rachel?
Yeah, because Mark gets killed off, and then David's one.
Correct.
I'm so happy that
I love David's character. I mean, he keeps it real.
I love David too.
He's like, dude, we're on a scientific expedition here. We're not going to disrupt this creature in its natural habitat. So I love that kind of dynamic, and hearing those words from a main character like David, I think helps the audience also feel that way. And it's like, oh yeah, just leave him alone. I know he killed a few guys, but just leave him alone.
It's nature.
Yeah, so, exactly.
It's like I love how you have the greedy people who that's the commentary of the greedy. Like we want to kill, study, and profit, versus the scientists who just want to like, this is what they're meant to do. Understand? Like, that's why I like I forget. I'm sorry. What's the one's name? Who lives? It's Mark dies and who lives? I like how at the end, I think it's Dave or whatever. When they're shooting him, he's like, stop, like let him be, like let him go back to his habitat. Which I'm like, oh, I'm so happy we ended with David and not Mark. Not that I don't like Mark, but obviously I'm a animal lover and all that. So I like David just being like the realist when like this is what he's meant to do.
Yeah.
So let it be. I like that back and forth. That you have the whole like moral dilemma between both sides.
Yeah. So let's get into these first few underwater
These
scenes.
sequences so good.
Yeah, we get our first underwater shots with our divers, and I love some of these shots. The divers just kind of coming across the screen, and you have the blackness behind them. It's just so well done, and it's like black and white really is what this movie is meant to be in. I mean, if they tried to colorize this movie, it would just look not as cool because, I mean, it's the Black Lagoon, right? I mean, you have to keep it black, but some of these shots are so good. So good.
My jaw dropped the first time I saw that. I'm like, this is perfect. It really brought me back to, I know in Jaws they do it towards the second half, but it really reminded me of the opening of Jaws 2 when the scuba divers go down underwater. I
Yeah.
got really major hints of that, and I'm just like, God, this movie is so good, and it means so much to cinema.
Isn't it so cool
I
going
love
back
it.
to some of these movies and seeing
Yeah.
how influential they are to some of
Yeah.
our favorites? Yeah. Because this was 20 years prior to Jaws, which is insane.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And just as a big fan of aquatic horror, it means even more to me to go back and be like, wow, this really did a lot for the genre alone. I don't know, Ray, is this your favorite? This is your favorite subgenre of the monster movies, but you like aquatic horror too?
Oh,
Like
I
all that stuff?
definitely
What's your
do.
favorite? Okay,
Yeah, I
so
love
this obviously
Jaws.
means a lot
so-
for that whole genre. Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. But again, this is adding a layer of suspense. It's not just aquatic horror. This gill man goes on land too, and we
Yeah.
see that
I know.
he attacks the two guys in the tent to start the movie. So it adds that layer. So they're on the boat, but when you're on the boat, you're not safe, and we see that throughout the movie. I mean, I love the creature because he takes no prisoners. Once he gets harpooned the first time, he's like, oh,
fuck you.
F these people. You know, I'm going right
I
after
love
him.
it.
And he comes right back and back again. And we didn't even talk about, usually we talk about the pacing and the runtime, Ant, when we start off with these reviews. But
Yes.
the runtime is, like an hour?
Literally an hour and 19 minutes
Hour
with
19
credits,
is
which,
what the
I mean,
official, yeah, I mean, and it just goes.
Perfect.
It's
Yeah.
so fast paced, but it's not too fast paced. It's just in your face. You know, there's no slog at all. You know, sometimes with these older movies, at least for me, some of these older black and white movies, maybe like in the second act, it's like, okay, we'll get a bunch of exposition and people talking. But
right.
I think the fact that it was all in one location, this entire movie,
Mhm.
we're on the Black Lagoon this entire time. You know, you have a few set pieces. You have the boat, you have the underwater set pieces, you get the cave set pieces, but it's all in one place. I think it really let them just kind of go crazy and just go really fast paced without it being too chaotic.
Yeah.
For sure. I mean, I like that you brought up some of these old movies, like, we appreciate them and respect them. This one, I'm like, I appreciate and respect it, but I'm in it, and I'm thrilled like going with the ride. Like, I'm not even trying to, I'm actually really into it, and I'm
Yeah.
enjoying the thrill ride. So it's not even just that with this. I'm actually fully, just in it, and I'm really intrigued, and I'm on the edge of my seat, and I'm like, wow, this. It's not like, we talked about, we had Dracula where we obviously respect it and we love that movie, but this one, I'm like, I'm feeling the suspense and I'm all in. So that's a huge
Yeah, I
testament
mean, I
for
was
this.
expecting to do my rewatch for this episode and kind of talking about it the same way we talked about Dracula. Like,
Right.
it's not really, great in 2025, but it's so influential and I love the filming techniques. But no, this movie just holds up
Right.
so well. And, even in Dracula, when I was talking about Dracula, I said there's like some times in those movies where it's just like people
Right.
talking and they're trying to, figure stuff out. And it's like, okay, let's just get back to the action. But this movie is all action all the time, and I love it.
Well, the balance is perfect between the dialogue with the, humans, and then when it's the underwater scenes really benefit it, and just the location alone. Like, I love being on the lagoon, chilling on the boat, just something about it. I even got like Anaconda, The Hunt for Blood Orchid vibes. I'm like, how would this movie influence every single movie I saw for aquatic horror as a kid? So it's crazy.
Well, so I'm not really the historian that you are, Ant, and maybe you are, Rachel. In terms of aquatic horror, like where is this on the timeline? Is this like one of the first horror movies, if not the first horror movie that had like aquatic elements?
I believe it had to have been, at least, especially for underwater scenes of that magnitude.
Yeah.
It was very early on for horror. I know that there
Yeah.
are other films that obviously had filmed underwater that were
Right.
musicals and otherwise, but to the best of my knowledge, it would be one of the earliest.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say I'm not sure if it's 100% the first, but it
Yeah.
obviously set the template, much like, Halloween set the template for the slashers, even though it wasn't the first, you know what I mean? So I would definitely say this is the one that
Hmm.
set the template.
Yeah, so again, I mean, again, speaking of underwater, we get to the infamous, Kay takes a swim scene. Rachel, you want to kind
That's
of
beautiful.
guide us through this scene and
Take it away.
what you love about this scene?
Yes, so this is my favorite scene of the entire film, the underwater dance
Yeah.
scene. And a fun fact about this is that so it's not Julie Adams in the water. It's her stunt double Ginger Stanley. So all of those scenes where
Okay.
she's flipping under the water and everything while the creature's watching her and starts to swim underneath her, it would be Ginger Stanley and Rico Browning in those scenes. And it's and Ginger Stanley was also a professional swimmer, so that's
Oh, okay.
important. I feel like it's important to mention. So they
Yeah.
were able to do these incredible scenes and really bring to life the underwater dance. And I just think it's so incredible how close he gets to her as they're swimming under the water there. And it's so haunting. And it kind of, I feel like it plays on that subconscious fear that we have of like what's underneath the water. And I think that's really what gives us the scariest element to it is swimming in still water or in a lake or anything that's too dark and you don't know quite what's below the surface and there's your worst fear realize something swimming right underneath you and you have no idea. And when he grabs her foot too and she doesn't realize what it is, if it's seaweed, if it's fish.
Yeah.
And she's brave to go right down under like
Yeah.
that. She's like, boop. I'm like, okay.
No, she's definitely not. I mean, I know she has a few moments of, iconic screams, but she's definitely not a damsel in distress. I mean,
No.
you could tell she's out in the field. Even in the beginning, you see her with David and they're out in the field together. She's a very capable woman. So, she feels something and she's like, what was that? I'm going to go investigate. So, yeah. I mean, we can do a whole episode on this scene alone and the subtext and,
Right.
different interpretations. I'm sure there have been many papers that have been published about this scene, and
For sure.
I've seen that there's like sexual
The oogling
undertones
of the
and
female
stuff.
body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the way I love the interpretation of how it's just we have society up here on the surface, and then we have like our kind of animalistic instincts under just beneath the surface. I mean, that's the first thing that comes to my mind. What about you guys?
Well, I like that everything is possible to dissect it, but that's what I liked about this movie. Again, it's not part of the narrative, it's just whatever we want to take away from it, we could, which
Hmm.
is why I think this movie is special because it's not being like, not, I said, not like I don't love what they did with Invisible Man and the new Wolfman, which was, I thought it was all right. But this one is just take whatever subtext you want. And just for a scene to be able to be scary and suspenseful, but like beautiful at the same time. That's really hard to do, and that's why I think, like Rachel said, this is her favorite Suga. That's why I think it's just so masterful because you go into it and you're feeling so many different emotions as the scene plays out. You're scared for her, but you're also kind of like, this is gorgeous. I don't want it to end.
Yeah.
So that's just masterful by itself.
Yeah, and like you said, Rachel, kudos to Ginger and Rico for their abilities. I mean, especially Rico in that suit, being able to swim so effortlessly
Holding his breath.
and gently
Breathing.
and because he has to make the audience believe that he's a creature that can survive underwater. So his movements, the way he swims and kind of goes side to side like with his arms, it's so cool, but so like mesmerizing and creepy at the same time.
It is. It's incredible too. He moves with such grace, even though he has this massive suit on, and he really brings to life the Gill Man. And something that was incredible with while they were filming this is Rico wouldn't come up between takes. He stayed down there, and they had a breathing tube, and he would just breathe through the tube, and he would just live underwater for the entire shoot day. And
That's awesome.
that's insane to me. Every time I try to just imagine what that would be like, and he makes it look so effortless.
Yeah, for sure. Even just the scenes where he's kind of stalking in the seaweed and stuff, it's so creepy.
The stalking.
Yeah.
He's just looking from down below, like Michael Myers behind a tree.
Totally.
Underneath the water, It's so good.
But like, I don't know what it is, if it's the direction or the way it's cut, but it's creepy, right? It's a monster, and there's not any facial expressions because it's a prosthetic, but you see, I don't know if it's in the eyes or in the face, but he's very curious. It's this creature that he's never seen before on the surface, and Kay is swimming, and it's sinister, but it's also like a curiosity, and I don't know how they pulled that off, but that's just what I feel in those scenes.
That's what makes it so special.
Yeah.
That's how I always feel too when I see that scene. I feel like a lot of his interest in Kate is out of like a pure curiosity and just like what you said. What is that? And the lagoon is supposed to be. Nestor says it at the beginning that no one comes back from the Black Lagoon, and so you have to think that the Gilliam probably hasn't seen a lot of people, and probably never a woman. And so the curiosity of just what even is that to him.
Yeah. No, it's beautiful. It's
well, it's fascinating because the creature's doing to her what they are doing to him. Yeah. Like he's never seen a human and they're like, where's this creature we've never, so it's very fascinating, the duality of it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And they're the one that's on basically an alien planet, you know, they're in his home. Exactly. So
leave him alone. He's in his territory.
Yeah. So I would dare say that this is maybe the first never split up moment though that we get with Kay. I mean, he touches her leg a couple times. Girl, I mean, there's crocodiles, there's anacondas out there. Get the hell out of there. What are you doing? Because not only does she investigate, but then she just is chilling again. She's just kind of on her back. She's not phased at all. It's like, I don't know about that.
But she knows they're on an expedition to find this thing, and she's still going swimming like la-di-da-di-da.
In the Amazon.
I know.
Mm-hmm.
I do like how when he gets caught and it's like one of the claws left behind, so then they're like, oh my god, this is where he is. So now they really get into it after this. They're like kicks into high gear, I feel like, after that moment.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, it's turned into high gear because I believe this is where he first goes aboard too, right, Rachel? This is where he kind of jumps onto the ship, and this is what I was talking about before, how you're not safe anywhere because he can survive above land and below the water, so...
Yep.
Right.
And this, I believe that would be right when he attacks Whip Thistle's character, and
oh yeah, the one who's ended up like I remember he's bandaged
up, right?
Yeah. I love that too.
Is he alive at the end of this movie? He doesn't die, right? He's still in bed, right?
So how much of a spoiler can I? Have you guys read the Creature from the Black Lagoon Lives comic? Can I?
No, we've not. But go ahead. We're in spoiler territory.
So Dr. Thompson, his character, according to the comic book, if it's canon, he's still alive at the end.
Okay.
I kind of got that hint too. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's bandaged up, and another. I mean, we're not quite there yet, but I feel like a moment where you want to yell at the screen is when they don't have the window locked. And,
oh yeah. Well,
and he goes to attack him again.
Well, isn't
the shots alone of him walking by the windows, dude? Oh my god.
Yeah.
Well, isn't that the last time we see his character? Or do we see him again towards the end of the movie?
We don't see him again.
Okay. Yeah, so that's why it's kind of left up.
Yeah.
A little ambiguous, but I'm assuming he's alive. I don't want to jump too far ahead to the end of the movie. We'll talk about whether or not the creature is alive, because obviously we have sequels, but we try to kind of, Rachel, we try to review these movies as if these sequels don't exist, like in the moment. Like if we were in the theater in 1954, how would we interpret this movie? So obviously the sequels exist, but it'd be interesting to hear your guys' take on the very last shot of this film. But before we get there, we'll keep going. I love, one of my favorite comedic moments is when they capture Gilman for the first time. And I believe it's Mark, who they're on the beach, and he's like, we got him. And he just starts wailing on him like instantly. I know. And David has to he's like, what are you doing? I thought that was really funny. That was one of the few comedic breaks in the film, whether it was intentional or not, but I got a good laugh out of that.
Yeah, Mark really has a lot of anger towards him, really lets it loose for a second.
Yeah.
He's ready to kill him right away.
He is, and it's, like I said, it's balanced so well because I feel like both men are justified because, he's racking up a kill count, this creature, and so I understand why Mark wants to just take him down. He's like, wanted dead or alive, like we can bring this thing back dead and we can still, further scientific discovery. We don't need to capture him. So I actually kind of I'm on board with Mark at this point because David wants to kind of keep him alive and put him in that pen on the boat. And it's like, I don't know, man. You don't know what the hell this thing is. What are you going to do? Take it back, home and study it? And like, what kind of life is that? So while at the end, David is more like kind of leave it alone and let it kind of go on its own. But right now, David wants it alive and wants to study it. And I don't know if that's really ethical.
I don't think either of them are ethical, like in
No.
this moment, honestly. Just let the creature be in his habitat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On that.
Yeah, it's like kind of one of those is like, come on, guys, cut your losses.
Yeah.
Like let's.
Like you've already lost so many crew members because of something you didn't have to do. Like let it be.
I forget who
he
says
escapes,
it,
though.
but
I
it's
love
like, I forget who says it. It's like, we're not equipped for this. This is just an expedition. Like, we need to come back
exactly
with more resources if we want to hunt this thing. Yeah.
I love how Kay gets her like iconic screaming though before they trap him the first time. I love that when he goes to abduct her. I love a good scream queen moment. It's so good.
Mm-hmm.
It's iconic. I mean, Julia Adams was so perfect for that role because, like you guys were saying earlier, she's intelligent, and I mean, they don't say it outright, but they do allude to her being a scientist as well. And but anyone would be terrified if the creature was just going to grab you and jump overboard and swim off with you. I mean, how do you not scream? But it's such an iconic scream. And
yeah, that's the one. That's the iconic one. But she has a few, 3 or 4 screams that, that are sprinkled in this movie. She does a really good job. Yeah. So, Rachel, talking about this cast, like who is are you a K girl, or do you like David the most? Like, who is your favorite go-to character? Are you just a Gill man? You just love Gill man.
Hell yeah.
Well, I love the Gill man. I have a lot of sympathy for him. I do think that by the end he is the victim in the situation. Of course,
100%.
He killed them, but it was one, he's a wild animal. They're in his territory. They also go after him. So there's a lot of that back and forth that it doesn't make it so black and white. But I do love Kay. I think for all of the Scream Queens, she is my favorite. And I do love David. I also really love Nestor, Captain Lucas.
He's great. I
think he provides so much comic relief throughout it, and he's great. That character is just so fantastically written, and he really helps move the movie along, and he's so funny, and just like the little offhand comments that he makes.
Yeah, my favorite scene of his when he stands up to Mark and he's got the knife and he's like, we're leaving. I'm the captain and we're leaving. Yeah, that's really cool.
And then you have another trope that's created after the creature escapes again, how they go by the logs and like we're trapped. That's such a iconic moment that I feel like has lived on throughout cinema, where like the boat's trapped or something's trapped, and that came from this. And I love the whole sequence that follows that when you get the whole pretty much a chase scene underwater with Mark. It's so damn good.
Yeah, I love Kay too, like you were saying, Rachel, because she does have some layers to it. It doesn't go completely. Again, everything is so subtle and it's so just not spelled out. It doesn't go like completely in the direction of her being like super sympathetic. She's still terrified of this creature up until the very end. But I believe there is one line, and if I misquote it, let me know, where Kay is questioning the creature's intentions. I believe it's Kay who says it. She's like, "Why didn't he kill me like he killed the others?" I think it was on the beach when he tries to just snatch her up. Correct? Someone's questioning, like, why didn't he could have killed me right away, but he decided not to. So the gears are working, and you can tell that maybe she's like, oh, maybe there's something more to this creature than meets the eye.
I believe you're right. I believe it is Kay, and it is, I can't remember the quote exactly.
Yeah, no, it's okay.
But yeah, it's, I think that she's the first one to realize that there might be more layers to the creature, and I think David follows very soon after that is when they both start. And I think as scientists, and also realizing, like, he doesn't I don't think that they think that the creature has like empathy to him, but I think again it's almost like a curiosity. It's almost where he does have a few kills where he is definitely the one going after them for no reason. Especially the intro scene to the film, but when he goes after Mark, I mean Mark's going after him. And and so I think Kay isn't causing him harm. She's not going after him. And so I think it allows him to just be curious and not defend himself.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of this in the moment. I also think maybe a reason that he doesn't go after Kay is, we go back to the swimming scene. Up until then, he had seen Mark and David in their full scuba gear, blowing bubbles and being like these monsters. I can't imagine what it looks like to the creature. And then all of a sudden you get Kay, who's just very gracefully just in her white bathing suit, no scuba gear. So that's got to be such a different first impression, so jarring to see her compared to the two other leads in the film. So maybe that's why he was kind of, curious with her. But yes, speaking of Mark, I love this whole sequence when he gets into this underwater battle with the creature. It's so well done, and it's so extended. Like, it's not just like it's quick shots and you can see everything. They don't like muddy it up with bubbles. I mean, for 1954, they nailed it.
It's perfect. No notes.
It's incredible. It really is, and it goes on for so much longer than you would think it would, and it's really back and forth. And I know the first few times that I watched the creature when I was younger, you kind of get real tense and you don't know who you're rooting for.
Mm-hmm.
And
I was going to ask, who are you guys rooting for in that moment? That was my question, because I was tense the whole time. I know who I was rooting for.
Yeah, I mean, I was rooting for the creature only because I knew Mark wanted to kill it. So
exactly.
Yeah.
And it's just so brilliant, and it's such a brilliant script because you have this creature which is basically half humanoid. So that allows, them to show more of it, because when I'm sorry, I keep forgetting his name, who's playing him underwater.
Oh, Richard Denning?
He's the
Rico
Browning.
Right?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was talking about the creature. Rico. Yeah, no. So when Rico's underwater doing these movements, because the creature in the film is like this half humanoid, it's very believable. He doesn't need to like try to be something that he's not. And the fact that the prosthetic is, skin tight to his body, he has a lot of range of motion. So I think it was just really well done, and just in universe, it was explained brilliantly. Like, it was so believable,
Definitely was.
And I just love how Mark is just mauled to death by this creature. He's
Yeah.
like, I'm done. I'm done with you. You're getting discarded right now. And it's cool because you have David trying to help, like the suspense, because David's trying to like kind of get there to help him. It's very well played out. It's plays like a epic underwater chase scene from the perspective of the creature and David trying to get to him. And Mark, it's just so well choreographed alone.
Yeah. I think that those kills are pretty brutal for that year too. Like, I mean,
sure.
Every other Universal monster film, it's almost more alluded to when someone is killed, and it's not so. Yeah, and I feel like especially Mark's is.
I felt the animalistic nature when Mark was killed by the human for sure, which I was like, okay, there's that creature.
Yeah. And then moving forward, I think this is my favorite version of the Gillman, and when he's just relentless. He just keeps coming back. And he's like, F these people. They shot me. They harpooned me. I'm still going. They tried to drug me. I mean, he's just taking no prisoners. I love that. And again, we talk about the pacing. In some of these other monster movies, Universal monster movies, you'll get like one attack and then they'll kind of go away. And then you have to wait like, 15, 20 minutes and then you get another attack. But no, by the time we get into the end of this movie, he's just coming. And then finally when he's, got his prize, got Kay, he swims away to the cave. But up until then, he's just coming at them like almost every other scene. It's like, oh, he's back again. I love that.
It's like a slasher movie.
Yeah.
Towards the end a little bit, yeah. Which I love that.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about Rachel, you talk about the window scene where he's poking his hand through the window. It's like, what was his plan there? You know, like he didn't care. He just wanted to get a piece of anyone.
Yeah, he was just out for blood at that point.
Yeah.
That animalistic nature came out for sure.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, then we get to, I guess, the ending sequence. We'll talk about that. Why don't you take us through that?
I just love how we get to see the creature's lair. And going back to the whole cave at all, I think it's whether you think it's outdated or not, I don't. I think it's the classic Beauty and the Beast kind of approach. Like the creature found his beauty and he's very intrigued, and that's why he doesn't kill her right away. He wants to keep her in his lair for himself or just to observe her. He's just mesmerized by her. So I don't have a problem with that, but I do like how David, instantly goes after right away when she's taken. You also have that more dilemma, like he took Kay, so like that's obviously not good, but I'm just like, do I want to watch David kill this creature right now? Like, what's going on? I know he has to save her, but you have that dilemma going into the finale too. Like, the creature's doing his thing, and obviously David has to save Kay, but it's like, how do you want it to end up? So I think that adds to the suspense as well.
It definitely does. And something, well, you mentioned Beauty and the Beast, the 1940s Beauty and the Beast actually did inspire the creation of Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Yeah, I got major vibes.
Yeah, they definitely.
That was my rewatch. I was definitely getting major hints of Beauty and the Beast throughout this movie.
Yeah, it's incredible, and definitely, like you were saying, Ant, you have this real big dilemma of you want everyone to be okay in the end, but like something's gonna have to happen.
One side's gonna have to go down, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's so brilliant because you have like it's almost like a Frankenstein's monster at the end here, where it's this sympathetic creature, but it doesn't go too overboard. Like if this movie would have went an extra half hour added on, we could have gotten like those King Kong vibes where Kay is falling for the creature and stuff, but we don't get that. It's very precursor to that, and that's not explored. So you're in this very early stage of like this. The creature wants to protect Kay because maybe he thinks Kay is being harmed by these people and he wants to save her. But we don't really know how Kay feels because she's unconscious and, she's been scared of this thing the whole time. So I love how that's how we end. Whereas some of these other movies like King Kong and stuff, that's kind of in the middle of the movie and then we kind of get a resolution. I love how this is the resolution because everything is heightened. Like you said, Rachel, you want everyone to kind of make it out because nobody is really the bad guy at this point, especially now that Mark is dead.
Yeah, exactly. It gets really really tough. You made a good point though. It is interesting that we don't know how Kay feels at this point. I realize it's something I hadn't really thought about before because at this point the movie's moving so fast that your mind's just going like, who's going to be saved? How are they going to resolve this? How's David going to get Kay and be the hero of the film? Like you have in monster films, but yeah, the creature's also not just a bad villain. He's got that sympathetic nature, and also at this point now he's just home, and you see his home, and I almost feel like that pulls on the sympathy that you have for him, is that he just wants to be in his cave and in his lagoon, and it's very conflicting.
Yeah, I mean, it makes you wonder, at least I wonder, if David doesn't come right away to save her, and maybe she wakes up in this cave and she sees the creature for who he is. I really wonder, because I'd like to believe that Kay would maybe kind of see the, dare I say, softer side of this thing, and that maybe it doesn't want to kill her, and it's not so scary. So, yeah, but the fact that we never get that is... I think it's brilliant, really, because it kind of leaves you wondering, and it just makes it that much more kind of sympathetic and heartbreaking at the end of this film. But yeah, I thought that was an interesting kind of concept that they did, especially because we have films prior to this that kind of explored that more, and they said, no, we're not going to explore that. We're just going to have David come to the rescue. And I love, again, we talk about the cinematography. I love the shot in the cave with her just on the rock. I mean, it's lit so beautifully. We can talk about how it's getting sunlight. I'm not sure, but who cares? I mean, it's lit beautifully.
Mystical. It's a mystical.
Yeah. And then we get, the other characters that are still alive kind of finally using their rifles and hitting home with
No,
it.
I
And
was
it's
so
like,
upset.
oh,
Yeah.
no, yeah.
Well, it's great because David just kind of disarms him. He doesn't really go again right away. He tells him stop shooting, like stop shooting. We're good. And what you said about Kay, she almost screams in fear when David gets there, but she's not yelling at David to kill him. I think she's
Yeah.
just in the tensions are
Yeah.
high in the situation, but she's not saying kill him, kill him. I think she's just like letting out all this tension that's built up. So to her credit, she doesn't even like once he's taken her pretty much abducted her. She's not even demanding that it be killed.
Yeah.
And David has her back, and he's just being the realist at the end. Like, all right, he's done. He's not a threat anymore. Let him be. Let him go back in the water.
Yeah.
So I love how it plays out like that.
Yeah, like I love how David. I mean, he tells him to stop, but he waits until they get like a few shots in. And he's like, "All right, okay, that's enough, guys." That's like, especially when it's still standing. It's like, okay, why don't we just let it go? I mean, that's a tough SOB. I mean, he took a lot of shots throughout this film.
Yeah.
I love how it plays out. I love how we end. There's no other way. If we didn't end on him like just going into like the depths of the water, oh, that's perfect. That's just magic. That's cinema. I'm just happy that's how it ended. I'd like to believe that he's severely injured, but he's going down into his slumber for a little bit and will reemerge.
Yeah, it's interesting because I'm a little conflicted. I assumed the last shot was just going to be him kind of swimming into the darkness, but we get that extra shot of him just kind of
Yeah.
unconscious floating there. So how do you interpret that, Rachel? I mean, what do you think's going on there?
With the music along with that scene, because when you first see it, it's like, oh, it's over. They're showing him floating and being and
Lifeless.
yeah,
much.
lifeless. And but because earlier on when he's shot with the harpoon and then survives that, I feel like you start to wonder if he's like able to heal really fast or something like that. And so with the daunting music, it makes me think that he's almost going to go into like a hibernation like state and heal and come back. Like I don't think it very much sets up it's not the last of him because of the music, I think.
Yeah,
I
and
agree.
we won't go too much into like the sequels and stuff, but I've never seen the sequels. So can you confirm, Rachel, is this creature the last of its kind, or are there other creatures like in other lagoons, or is this like just like the last one?
This is the last one.
It is, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's sad. Yeah.
Yeah.
Even if he survives, that's like sad. It's like he's just trying to make it. And do we know, like, is it like an ancient being, or like how old is he? Is he just like the last line of many creatures? Like, do they go into that at all?
Unfortunately, they don't really go too much more into that. The Revenge of the Creature does start up right where basically this one lets
Love
off.
that title too.
Yeah. and it's basically, without giving too much of it away, the Revenge of the Creature is more like a continuation into we get more of a Mark like character and not a return of a David like character.
Okay.
And
Gotcha.
yeah, and so I'm like, I don't want to give it too much away if you guys want to talk about the Revenge.
No,
of the
definitely. We'll cover the
We'll
sequels
have you
in the
back. Yeah,
future.
we'll
for
have
if
to
you
have
sure.
you
haven't
back
seen
for
it.
the sequel for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I haven't seen it for sure. Yeah, so I'm definitely gonna check. I mean, are they even in the same vein as this? Obviously, the original's a masterpiece. Are they even worth checking out? You think?
The sequel is directed by Jack Arnold, but
Yeah.
it's a little more silly. Yeah, it's a little.
Okay.
It's not as obviously it's not the classic, but I think it's worth checking out.
Is there one or two sequels? Isn't there two sequels?
There's two.
Okay, there is two, and they were released like pretty quickly, right? They was like all in the 50s.
Yep, 55 and 56.
Okay. All right, guys. Well, that's Creature from the Black Lagoon. It's crazy that it's been 71 years. We haven't had a single remake of this film. I mean,
Well, it's
can
coming
you
up,
believe
dude.
it?
It's coming up.
Is it coming up? I mean, I was looking at
James
the
Wan.
Wikipedia, and there have been so many scrapped remakes.
I think it's official that James Wan's doing it. If I'm not
Yeah, I
mistaken,
saw
right?
it too. That was the last we heard that he's doing it. I saw like in the 90s that John Carpenter was penned, like he was developing a remake.
Oh,
Peter Jackson, one of my favorite directors. I'm a big Lord of the Rings nerd, so that would have been interesting, but I think he decided to do King Kong instead. I thought an interesting one that I saw on the Wikipedia was Breck Eisner, who directed the Crazies remake.
Oh,
that would have
sweet.
been an interesting one too. But yes, I did see James Wan. Rachel, if you could pick any director to do a remake, who would you pick? Kind of your
Well,
favorite director.
to be honest, John Carpenter, because of my love
Of
of
course,
Halloween,
of
it
course.
would have been him. And
Yeah, The
um,
Thing. I mean, yeah, it
he
goes
also
right along.
had
Yeah.
Rick Baker in line to design the creature, if I'm remembering correctly. And I mean, what's not to love about Rick Baker? We would have gotten practical effects, and I think John Carpenter also really understands that suspense, and I think we could have really gotten a really cool creature. I I like James Wan though. I feel like the more of his work that I've seen, I'm on board for it. I don't know that I could think of anyone else from like today who is a big director that I would pick over James Wan. So I'm kind of putting all my trust in him because
Yeah.
I think it'll be awesome because I think he's gonna make it visceral, like horrific, but he also knows that it has the potential to be a fun popcorn, and he can blend the elements
yeah.
way better than Lee Whannell. I love what he did, but he's very serious in his recreations of these classic monsters. I also think I always think that like Mike Flanagan, because it kind of had the sympathy aspect to the creature, and Mike Flanagan like always gets me in the feels. So I always feel like he would be a good choice too. But I'm all aboard for James Wan for sure.
Yeah. I mean, the obvious choice also is Guillermo del Toro. He did his own version, that I believe won
Did
Oscars
you
and
like The
stuff.
Shape of Water? Did you like The Shape of Water, Rachel?
I really did, and I feel like the more times that I watch it, the more I like it because Guillermo is he's a genius at storytelling, and I feel like the more you watch it, the more, much like the creature, you start to pick up on more things, and you start to kind of create the story yourself and wonder, well, you know what I mean? It's almost like
For sure.
he doesn't say things outright; he leaves it up to interpretation. And it's also such a beautiful film, and he pays homage to so many parts of the creature. And I think it's a bummer that he didn't get to make like an actual Creature from the Black Lagoon remake like he had originally started out doing. But I really love what Shape of Water ended up being. So
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if we want a sex crazed one, we can always go Robert Eggers. I mean, he's up there.
No.
So, I mean, if we really want to lean into the sex and stuff, yeah. But no, I mean, James Wan, I think he'll take good care of it. I mean, he knows how important this film is, and I hope it's good. So, is there any like news on that? Any update? Are they going to start
Let me
production
look it up
soon,
right
or do
now
you
to
know
see.
anything
I
about
think
that,
it's
Rachel?
still like in development.
Is
Let's
it?
see.
They're still writing the script, I'm assuming.
I think, yeah, I think
Yeah,
they're
well,
still
it
in the
says they
very
found
early
its writer.
stages. I don't even
Okay.
know if anyone's been casted for any of the
No,
parts. I think he's
No.
doing a remake of The Mummy. Am I correct on that? I think.
that's who was doing the Mummy? Oh, I think the one who did Evil Dead Rise is doing the Mummy, which I'm very
Well, I
stoked
mean, they
for.
better hurry up because this is the year that Universal monsters are really going to kick into high gear. We got Frankenstein coming up,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and so I mean, let's go. Let's get more creature from the Black Lagoon for sure. So
Yeah.
Bobby
okay,
Flyn's doing the Mummy.
all right. Without further ado, let's get into our never split up moments. Rachel, since you are our guest, we will let you go first. You kind of get your pick of the litter. Why don't you kick us off?
All right. I think I'm gonna have to go with when with Bissell, Dr. Thompson is attacked on the boat when they're all just standing there and the creature kind of creeps up behind them. I feel like that's my moment of yelling at the screen, turn around, and um, I think that has to be my scene. That would be my never split up scene. That would be,
That's an iconic horror moment.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. And you want to go next? I'll let you go next.
Okay. I was gonna pick the K moment, but like that scene is too beautiful for me to want any interruptions. So I'm gonna pick that Mark is so hellbent on killing this creature that he immediately goes after the creature without. I feel like if they just like took some time to prepare and maybe come up with a game plan, they would have had, whether they capturing it or whatever. But he just goes right for the kill and goes into the water, and that literally leads to his death. So he just kind of like took a step back
Yeah.
and thought for a moment instead of acted on like friggin' anger and instinct, he may have still been alive. And so I think he ultimately led to his own death, which is kind of poetic. So yeah, I think Mark just acting too quick. He just needs to chill out, come up with a plan. It got him killed.
Okay. I'm going to go with a classic moment where they legit split up. I'm going to go in the literal sense here. When they leave Kay and who is it, Rachel? I always get the who gets the bandages. Is it Dr. Thompson?
Dr. Thompson. Yeah.
When they leave Kay and Dr. Thompson alone with this thing in this submerged, state.
Yeah.
You have to figure the thing's not dead, and they all go and take photos of the cave. It's like one or two guys tops, but you all need to leave. Yeah. I mean, come on, that was kind of silly. So I'm gonna go with that moment, and it's what caused the next series of events. And Dr. Thompson is maybe not dead, but he's very messed up from that. So yeah, poor guy. I mean, he puts up a good fight too. We didn't even really talk about that sequence, but
yeah.
That was a cool stunt scene where the creature's on fire. I mean, that was really cool pyrotechnics and jumps back into the lake. But yeah, I'm going to go with them just kind of leaving, an older doctor and the only woman on board, like, alone. I mean, what are you thinking? And then even him, he's like, hey, why don't you go get some sleep? Like, I got this. So it's like, oh, man, guys, like, what are you doing here,
Oh, I love our moments. I love that we didn't take the easy way out and pick the swimming moment. That's awesome.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, that's the quintessential one where you're just screaming at Kay. Right. You're like, what are you doing? But no, I like how we went with different moments for sure. Okay. We haven't done this in a while, Ant, but we have to give scores.
I have to give a score again.
Because we've been covering Final Destination, and we have been saving our scores for kind of the climax of that franchise. But we are going to give scores 1 through 10, Rachel. Again, actually, Ant, why don't you go first? We'll let Rachel go second, just to kind of kick us off and kind of give your overall thoughts again, just final closing remarks, and what do you give it out of 10?
Yeah, I think that, we've been raving about it pretty much. It's a beautiful movie. My love of aquatic horror, I've realized doing this rewatch how much of it came from this movie. I think the creature looks awesome. I think the direction was perfect. The performances took my breath away. I didn't remember how much of this runtime is spent underwater, which just again blew my mind. I just think this is one of the creature features that maybe because it didn't come as early on as the Draculas of it all, it doesn't get the respect. It gets respect, but it doesn't get the appreciation as those movies because it's kind of like you're already in the 50s. But I think it's just stands shoulders and shoulders, and kill me, but I enjoyed this rewatch way more than watching Dracula. And this one's so special to me. I love it. I wish I remember what we gave Dracula because this is going to be up there. I'm giving this like a 9.5. It really just for a movie that I know I have to respect. And I was like, okay, I have to rewatch it again for the podcast. I'm so happy that we're doing this because I was on the edge of the seat the whole time. And I'm so happy I own it now. So yeah, this is an all-timer creature feature, and I love me some aquatic creature feature horror. So it's a 9.5. It's excellent. It stands the test of time, which is very, very special.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, 9.5, huge score from Anthony. Rachel, what about you?
Well, I hate to be so transparent, but I'm gonna have to give it a 10 out of 10. I'm extremely biased. Or just a little. But,
shocker.
It's like me with Scream, I get it.
Yeah, I'm like, I have no notes. It's a perfect film. No, I think it's for a monster film, for any film, I think it has everything. It has the storyline, it has incredible characters, it has character growth with David, it has the suspense, it's beautiful, the Gilman, the costume design, it's incredible. The Rita, I mean, it's everything about this film is so iconic, and I realized that a lot of times when I get people to watch this movie, because I feel like if you're friends with me, I have to subject you to watching this at some point. But I get a lot of people who come back to me and are like, I thought this was going to be a silly black and white monster film, and it's actually a really interesting film that kept me intrigued the whole time. And I think that's a testament to the screenwriting and the production of the film. And I also want to just mention Millicent Patrick, who designed the original Gilman costume. And I just think that because of her creativity, we have this iconic mask and costume that is able to rival today's monsters and have that iconic look and be so remembered and not just be another monster film from the 50s or a black and white film. And so I just think that the creature really has everything.
Yeah, I mean, she helped design this from the ground up, if I'm reading correctly, correct? And she didn't get credit for the longest time, correct? Right?
Yeah. She
Yeah.
got kind of pushed aside, and she was originally an animator with Disney, and after many years they got her hired on at Universal in the makeup department, and she was an artist, and she drew the concept for the original Gilman. They had, if you look back, there are some photos of what the creature was going to look like, and it's very, very different from what Millicent ended up coming up with. And it was her design that the makeup team ended up creating the Gilman from. And it's unfortunate that she didn't really get any credit until, I want to say, maybe about 20 years ago is when she really started to get the credit that she deserved for the work that she put into creating what the creature looked like.
No, that's great that she's finally getting the recognition that she deserves, for sure. But oh yeah, I mean, my overall thoughts, my final thoughts. This movie is just like you said, it's perfect almost in a way. We've covered other classics, other black and white classics on this podcast. I've watched a lot of other, black and white films, and particularly Universal monster films. I can always kind of pinpoint where those movies lack and where they go wrong, and maybe what I would prefer looking at it in 2025. I can't do that with this movie. It doesn't lack anything. I mean, like you said, Rachel, everything from the direction to the cast to the cinematography to the script is just brilliant, but it's very tight. The sequences underwater, like you said, Ant, there is nothing that this movie lacks, and it still holds up to this day, for sure. I'm going to give it a high score, too. I'm not going to give it a 10, only because, I don't watch this as frequently as maybe I should. Maybe in the future, as I watch this more, because I realize how great it is, I'll give it a higher score. But it's still an all-timer. I'm going to give this, Ant, you gave it a 9.5. I'm pretty much right there with you. I'll give it like a 9.3. 9.3,
oh, yeah. We are up there on this movie.
Yes.
I love it. Thank you for helping us cover this, because it made us fall in love with it again. So, huge testament to you. Thank you.
Oh, I'm glad. I'm always glad to share more Creature and to get people to rewatch it, because it really is just, it's incredible. It hasn't aged.
Definitely not. Yes.
Timeless.
Thank you so much, Rachel. If you want to give a shout out real quick before we wrap up, again, just your social media channels where people can find you.
Yes, thank you so much again for having me. This was so much fun to talk the Creature with you guys. You guys can find me on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok at Rachel from the Black Lagoon.
Okay, awesome. Well, until next time, guys, that was the Never Split Up podcast. Find us on social media. We're going to run this poll. So we're going to run a Never Split Up poll for this episode, as well as all of our other episodes. We run them on social media, and vote for your favorite answer. And we'll see you next time. See you later. Bye.